December 1958. A quiet family trip in Oregon turned into a mystery that haunts investigators to this day. Kenneth and Barbara Martin, with their 3 daughters, vanished after a Christmas outing. Their car disappeared, their trail went cold, and Oregon's snow-covered wilderness swallowed all clues. Police searched everywhere, mountains, rivers, logging roads, but the Martins were gone. Then came strange discoveries: a stolen handgun, blood traces, and rumors of foul play. Months later, the Columbia River revealed 2 bodies, Kenneth and Barbara, pulled from the icy current. But their daughters, they were never found. The case grew darker, the questions louder. Did the Martins stumble into a deadly accident? Or something sinister? Stay with us as we uncover the truth. In the winter of 1958, the Martin household in Portland, Oregon, bustled with the warmth of a family preparing for Christmas. Kenneth, 54, was a steady, hard-working man, practical in nature but deeply devoted to his wife and children. His wife, Barbara, 48, was the quiet anchor of the family, known for her gentle spirit and love of holiday traditions. Together they had 3 daughters: Virginia, 14, Susan, 13, and Barbara Jr., just 11 years old. The girls were lively, curious, and inseparable, their laughter filling the modest 2-story home on Northeast 57th Avenue. Their neighbors described them as the picture of an ordinary, happy American family. Church-going, polite, never in trouble. They were the kind of people others waved to on their way to work, never suspecting that within days they would become the center of one of Oregon's most baffling mysteries. Kenneth was a man who enjoyed routine. He worked for an electrical supply company, the kind of job that demanded precision and reliability. Barbara kept the home in order, her focus always on her children's well-being. Though modest in means, the family was rich in love and togetherness. That December, they decided to take a short drive to the Columbia River Gorge to gather greenery for their Christmas decorations, a tradition that blended practicality with a sense of adventure. It was a typical outing for them. Pile into the car, pack a small lunch, and head east into the crisp Oregon air. It was also meant to be a chance to spend precious family time together before the busyness of the holidays. No one in their community thought twice when they waved goodbye to the Martins that morning. The Martin daughters were excited. Virginia, the eldest, had a budding sense of responsibility and often kept a protective eye on her younger sisters. Susan was the imaginative one, prone to daydreaming and telling little stories that made everyone laugh. Barbara Jr., at just 11, was spirited and adventurous, often tugging her sisters toward whatever caught her interest. The sisters clutched thermoses of cocoa and sang along to Christmas carols on the car radio as their parents drove. The mood was festive, ordinary, and full of life. That sense of everyday normalcy is what makes the story of their disappearance so haunting, because in hindsight, every moment feels like a final snapshot before something unfathomable happened. The Martins headed east toward the scenic roads winding into the Columbia River Gorge. Kenneth loved the outdoors and often took his family on small day trips. He believed strongly in showing his daughters Oregon's natural beauty: the rivers, the mountains, and the forests. Barbara sometimes worried about road conditions in winter, but she trusted her husband's cautious nature. He had driven those roads many times. That day, however, heavy snow was predicted. The gorge could be treacherous in winter. Icy roads, steep cliffs, and unpredictable weather. Still, nothing about the outing suggested it was anything more than a simple Christmas errand. By evening, they were expected back home. Neighbors recalled the house lights left on, and Odelia, Barbara's sister, expected a phone call once they returned safely. But as night fell, silence hung over their empty home. The car never returned. No calls were made. No sign of the family appeared. What had begun as a cheerful holiday drive had slipped into an eerie absence. The Martins had vanished. The morning after the Martins failed to return, unease spread quickly through their Portland neighborhood. Kenneth was not the kind of man to miss work without notice, nor was Barbara the type of mother to let her daughters skip school casually. By Monday morning, when their home remained dark and empty, family members contacted the police. At first, officers assumed it might be car trouble or a delayed return. But as hours turned into a full day, the quiet absence began to feel ominous. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Department launched an official search. Officers contacted nearby towns along the Columbia River Gorge, hoping someone had seen the family's distinctive Ford station wagon. Word spread quickly, and volunteers soon joined law enforcement, combing through the icy roads and snow-dusted pull-offs along Highway 30. The gorge was beautiful in winter but unforgiving. Steep cliffs plunged into the river, and icy winds howled through the canyon. Every turn of the winding highway was checked, every turnout scanned for tire tracks. Yet no sign of the family or their car appeared. Days passed, and the mystery deepened. Newspapers splashed the story across their front pages. Family of 5 vanishes on holiday outing. The Martins were no longer just missing persons. They had become a headline, their smiling Christmas photo framed by bold black letters. For Portland residents, it was terrifying. If a whole family could disappear without a trace, what did that say about the safety of their own daily lives? Investigators interviewed friends, relatives, and neighbors. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The Martins had no known enemies, no financial troubles, no hint of foul play at home. Their car had not been seen in repair shops, gas stations, or parking lots. It was as if the family had driven east and been swallowed by the wilderness. The search widened. Helicopters scouted from above, their spotlights sweeping over frozen forests and jagged cliffs. But the thick canopy of pines made visibility almost impossible. On the ground, volunteers trudged through knee-deep snow, their boots crunching in the silence of the gorge. Still, not a shred of evidence emerged. The days stretched into weeks. Rumors began to swirl. Had the family driven into the river by accident? Had they been victims of a crime? Every theory seemed possible, yet none could be proven. For the Martins' relatives, the agony was unbearable. Christmas came and went with their house sitting cold and silent, a half-decorated tree still standing in the living room, gifts unopened beneath its branches. By January 1959, the Martins had been missing for nearly 3 weeks. Hope was fading, but investigators refused to let the case go cold. The search, once vast and scattered, narrowed to specific choke points along the Columbia River Gorge. It was here, among the jagged cliffs and icy waters, that the first signs of the family would finally surface. A deputy spotted tire impressions leading off the road near the Dalles, faint but distinct in the snow. They appeared to match the width of the Martins' Ford station wagon. Searchers leaned over the cliffside, peering down into the freezing river, but the dark water concealed everything. It was a chilling moment. Had the family's car plunged into the Columbia? Soon after, another discovery deepened the mystery. Near a gorge overlook, volunteers stumbled upon a handful of personal belongings scattered in the brush. A child's shoe, a torn piece of blue fabric, and a tire chain. Each item was photographed, collected, and bagged as evidence. None were conclusive, but together they hinted at tragedy. The press swarmed on the discoveries, and headlines exploded. Clues found in Martin family case. Families across Oregon devoured the updates. In every diner, bar, and church, whispers swirled about what could have happened. Some believed the Martins had skidded off the road into the gorge. Others suspected something far darker, foul play. Investigators now faced a grim reality. If the family had indeed gone into the river, the freezing currents might never release them. But if foul play was involved, someone had gone to disturbing lengths to cover their tracks. Either way, the gorge had given up its first whispers of truth, and they were unsettling. By spring of 1959, the Columbia River had thawed from its winter ice, its violent currents loosening whatever secrets it had kept frozen beneath the surface. Fishermen, loggers, and townsfolk along the gorge watched anxiously, knowing the river often returned what it took. The first grim discovery came in May, when two fishermen reported a body caught in their nets near Bonneville Dam. Authorities rushed to the scene, and what they pulled from the river shocked everyone. The badly decomposed remains of a child, later identified as one of the Martin girls. The river had spoken, and its voice was devastating. A month later, another body surfaced, this time an adult female near Camas, Washington. The clothing matched what Barbara Martin had last been seen wearing. Families wept, searchers lowered their heads, and the press swarmed. 2 lives confirmed lost, yet the father and 1 child remained missing. The river had only given part of the story. The gruesome discoveries intensified whispers of foul play. Some argued the Martins had skidded off icy roads into the gorge. Others believed they had been forced. The bodies, battered by water, revealed little. The official cause was drowning, but locals weren't convinced. Why hadn't the entire car surfaced? Why did the river release only 2? The bodies pulled from the Columbia River should have brought closure, but instead they sowed even deeper doubts. 2 confirmed dead, 2 still missing. The math didn't add up. The Martins' car had yet to surface, and without it, the accident theory seemed incomplete. Locals began whispering about foul play. Could someone have forced the family off the road? Some pointed to skid marks found near the gorge that didn't quite match the weather conditions. Others questioned how a careful father like Kenneth could lose control with his wife and children inside. Then came rumors of an abandoned vehicle, a station wagon resembling the Martins, spotted by loggers near Cascade Locks before the family was reported missing. The sighting was never confirmed, but it fueled theories that the Martins had been ambushed, perhaps forced into the river deliberately. Police received tips about men seen loitering along the family's route, strangers who didn't belong. Some speculated robbery, others something darker. But every lead ended the same way: vague descriptions, no names, no arrests. The Martins had vanished into a fog of suspicion, and the truth seemed to slip further away. By autumn, frustration boiled over. Newspapers ran bold headlines questioning whether the investigation had been botched. Neighbors whispered of curses along the gorge, of the Columbia swallowing secrets whole. And through it all, Barbara's and Susan's classmates placed flowers on empty desks, while Odelia Hastings clung to fading hope for her remaining family. Decades have passed since the Martins' disappearance, yet the story lingers like a ghost along the Columbia River Gorge. Tourists still pause at the river's edge, wondering where a father, mother, and their children vanished into the cold December night. For some, it's a tragic accident. For others, it's a mystery drenched in foul play. What makes the case endure is not just the unanswered questions, but the human cost. Kenneth's neighbors still recall him as a careful, devoted father. Virginia's church friends remember her warmth. The empty desks left behind by Barbara and Susan became symbols of stolen innocence. For investigators, the Martins case became one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in Oregon history. Generations of detectives pored over old files, hoping that new technology or a fresh tip might break the silence. But no new discoveries have ever surfaced. As the years stretched into decades, the mystery hardened into legend. Some believe the Martins were victims of a terrible accident, swallowed by the river's unforgiving currents. Others whisper of murder, of strangers along the road that night who knew more than they ever told. Yet one truth remains: the Martins never came home. Their story is a chilling reminder of how quickly ordinary lives can vanish, leaving behind only fragments. A car, 2 bodies, and 1,000 unanswered questions. And so the Columbia River Gorge keeps its secret. The Martins' fate is etched into Oregon's history, a story whispered in classrooms, living rooms, and roadside diners. A story that still demands an ending. The case of the Martin family may never truly be solved, but their story refuses to fade. Was it an accident, or was there something darker at play? What do you think happened to them? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling unsolved mysteries.